Hello everyone, welcome to episode 7 of Reading Layamon's Brut. Last time, Brutus successfully lifted the siege of his castle at Sparatin. He defeated the Greeks and captured their king, Pandrasus. Now the Trojans just need to decide what to do next, and that's what they'll do today. Amarowen, the hit Daiwas, and the Nichte Tudalda, Brutus summonde his folk, here wären his fulle frände. He heichte for his luve, all his leerde ferde, that here nomen that wal, and well hit beburiede, in a derp seven, setten that ede. And hit was so nidon, for many 1,000 thereto fengen, all da bietten achte, he delda his knichten, and all his levermen, he mit monshippe grete. On the morrow, so the next day, when it was day, and the night, Tudalda is divided, or in this case dissipated, so when the night lifted, went away, Brutus gathered his people. They were his full friends. He commanded for his love all his people army, the army of his people, that they took the slaughter and buried it well. Now, you might notice that these verbs nomen and beburiede are past tense. Why are they past tense when Brutus is commanding his army to actually do something? So presumably they haven't done it yet. Well, this is an instance of the future in the past, and this is something that we've actually already seen. We saw it earlier on when Assaracus advised the Trojans to take Brutus as their leader. Basically, because what Brutus is commanding them to do hasn't been done at the time of his speaking, it's in the future relative to Brutus commanding it, but it's in the past relative to Layamon's narrator telling the story. So it's called the future in the past, and it's going to take the past tense. And that's typical of Old English, maybe a little bit less common in Middle English, but Layamon certainly uses it, as we can see here. So he commanded them to take the slaughter and buried it well in deep graves or deep pits to set the dead. It might be best for our purposes to translate it as an infinitive. So to take and to bury and to set the dead. That's generally how we'd express an imperative in modern English. And it was soon done, for many thousands took to it. All the acquired possessions he shared with his knights, and all his dear men he greeted with honour. Da al this wasidon, da dute he onuther, he lette an heich klimben, and lude klepian, that on danadai amarwen komme his drichtliche volk, and alle his hei men kommen to hustinge, and her swaduren, blisse wesondae, that volk kom together guthliche knichtes, and her lavert spark, and lus hem with spelede. Lusteth mine knichtes, lusteth mine levermen, sogeth me to runun, rad that thuntje. When all this was done, he did another thing. He commanded one, a messenger or somebody, to climb high and to call loudly, that on the next day, on the morrow, his lordly people should come, and all his great men come to a husting. Hustings is a word that survives quite late, particularly in British politics. We might just translate it as a council. So came to a council, and so they did. Joy was on that day. The people came together, the warlike knights, and their lord spoke. And he spoke with them thus. Listen, my knights, listen, my dear men, tell me counsels. A counsel that it just says seems to you, but seems in the sense of seeming, so something that seems good to you. Ich habe desne Lerd King, Ilaid in mine benden, and his brother al swar, hit is the bet mit us, and a his lerden of slauen, ich am him the latherer, and alle his achter jeven mine athelinge. If ye hit radeth, ye berth mine riche men, ich wille mit swerte, his hevet of swippen, and if ye hit willeth, it hine wille spillen, and if ye me redeth, it hine wille freien. If he me geveth gersumme, gold and silver, all his mathmas, withon tha he mote So this is Brutus still speaking. I have this country's king, this people's king, laid in my chains, and his brother also, it is the better with us, and slain his people. I am the more hateful to him. And all his possessions I have given to my nobles. If you advise it, you are my great men, my powerful men, I will with sword swipe off his head, and if you wish, I will kill him. And if you advise me, I will free him. If he gives me treasure, gold and silver, all his treasures, with that, or because of that, then he may live. Da ansvarda adala knichtes, summen hitwera iquem, that her hine schulden quellen. Himself haben that lond, and ben there lerden a king. Summen queden alles, and thus the quides erden. Jever us the king, and all his gold, and the mathmas of his lond. Jev us perl, jev us horse, jev us heich skrud, jev us an end of his kinnelond. Jev us gisles thereto, and this my ben welly done. There was money Layamon, the could a little reden, whether him were a wunsumre, to faren there to wunian. Then the noble knights answered. Some were pleased with it, that they should kill him, him being Pandrasus, the king of Greece, and himself have that land. And himself here is not the king of Greece, but presumably it's Brutus, and be king of the people. Some said otherwise, they said else. And the sayings went thus. Give us the king and all his gold, and the treasures of his land. Give us pale, pale is fine cloth, so give us fine cloth. Give us horses, and give us great skrud is the word that gives us shroud. It means garments, so give us fine clothes. And give us a part of his kingdom. Give us hostages as well, and this may be well done. This will be proper and fitting, essentially. This is a good arrangement, or a fitting arrangement. There was many a great man who knew little advice, so didn't really know what to say. Whether it were better, this is the word that gives us winsome, wunsumre, so whether it were more pleasing to them to go than to dwell there, so to remain. The wheeler they her tweneden thus, clepida membricius, that was a Layamon, there was swither welly done, wise and witful, well he hit kuda. What speke je knichtes, what speke je kempen, under you alle, nis there none swa god, da yet habe aside, that us is celest to don. If ye hit lusten wille, Brutus me lavert, and ye alle belovion, gode mine lara, each you wille sedgen, salest raden. And da answerde all that folk, fine we willeth hit herren. Then, while they doubted thus, Membricius called, that was a great man. He was very properly arrayed, he was wise and witful, and he knew well, or understood well, so the situation, and how to advise well. What speak ye, knights? What speak ye, warriors? Under, or we'd have to say something like amongst you all, there is not any so good, who has yet said what is best for us to do. If you will listen, Brutus my lord, and you all beloved, this is beloved, but it can have a bit of a weaker sense than it does in modern English, so it just means if you incline towards it, or if you give credence to this idea, incline towards my good teaching, I will say to you the best counsel. And then answered all the people, we will gladly hear it. Da quath Membricius ludere stevna, Irnewe to than a king, jeven swithe gode, that is al reforwarde, that he us ifrea. Sooneth hereafter Jurnewe his dochter, that he her jeva lavert Bruton to his bede. Of his corne he us jeva swa muchul, that were bern equemed, gold and garsum, and his gold horse, and all his best mat kun, there his men habeth, and all the leadende shippen, there on his land bearth. Then spoke Membricius with a loud voice, Ask, you'll notice that this gives us the word yearn, so let us ask, or we ask, the king to give, is understood to us, great good. That is, first and foremost, that he free us. Soon thereafter, or next, we'll ask for his daughter, that he give her to our lord Brutus to his bed, so as his wife. And corn is a false friend here. It doesn't mean what we typically mean by corn, which is maize, which is, of course, not natively a European crop. Corn, in the medieval period, refers to grain, and what type of grain or what exactly it refers to varies depending on geography. So up north in Scotland, it typically refers to oats, for instance. He give to us very much, so much, of his grain that we be pleased. Gold and treasure, and his good horses, and all his best supplies, which his men have, and all the sailing ships. The leathen we've seen as a verb already, so we've seen it. Actually, we saw it right at the beginning in the prologue, when Layamon told us that he gone leathen, he went far throughout the land conducting his research. So all the sailing ships, the going ships, which are in his land. And alle that behoveth the shippen to driven, of monnen and of wapnen, that we mouen well fare forth over sa, sel that he worthen, and leathen swa longer, that we to Londe komen, faren wiede jernd that land, and fondia their lerden, where us bear equeme, king that we makien of Bruto ur laverde, the is best of us, and ignoyen to queen, there is this king's dochter. Now, so continuing the speech of Membricius and the requirements that the Trojans should make of the king, that he also gives all that behoves, all that is necessary to drive the ships, all that is necessary of men and of weapons, so that we may go well, go forth over the sea, so that we become good or fortunate, and go so far, or as long, that we come to land. To go far throughout that land, and fundia is perhaps misleading here. It doesn't mean found, as in to establish. The verb funden means to test or to try. In this case it means to explore, and so to find a lerden here refers presumably not to a people but to a place for the people, and there discover a place where it is pleasing to us that we make a king of Brutus, our lord, who is the best of us, and Ignoyen as queen, who is daughter of this king. For if we hit jerneth to wonien her mit Grieken, her beeth oor fulle fand, for we beeth I fed with him. For her kun we habeth I slagen, in earthe her slepeth. We beeth hem lather, for her muchele lure. Her willeth us bewiglien, thur her weather craftes, a swa hem bet I worth, swa us urspith. For mit oor wepnen her kun, we a queld habeth, mit oor honden money 1000. If we sherteth to her mather, that bith oor I mone death. If we her me leveth, that bith oor muchele lore. If her well wexit, her willeth wunien us. For if we desire to remain here with the Greeks, they are our utter, complete enemies, For we are made enemies against them. You can see the word foe in here in this verb. So to be made enemies against them. Because we have slain their kin. They sleep in the earth. We are hateful to them because of their great loss. They wish to trick or deceive us. This is an interesting word. It might look like the word beguile, but it's actually a different word. This comes from the Old English word wigla, which means magic or witchcraft. So the word literally means to deceive with witchcraft. That's probably not the sense here, though. It just means to trick. And beguile, by contrast, actually comes from Old French, and it's then had the English prefix be attached to it. They wish to they wish to deceive us through or by means of their evil crafts, evil skills. There seems to be some sort of scribal error or some sort of issue here with this word. It's not the verb to be, beth. We should actually read it as bet. So, as it becomes or turns out better for them, so it shall be worse for us. For with our weapons we have killed their kin, with our hands many thousands. If we trust, an odd word. This is the word shoot, and it does have that sense. That's its main sense in Old and Middle English. However, it also has another sense which can mean to trust to or to refer to an authority. This sense is much more common in Old English than it is in Middle English. In fact, according to the Middle English Dictionary, this is only one of two instances in Middle English where it has this meaning. The other one is in a homily that dates to, well, at least the middle of the 12th century. But its sense is, the sense we find it in Old English is, for instance, in Alfrich's homily on the discovery of the Holy Cross. He uses this verb when citing his source, St. Jerome. He says that this is from St. Jerome. We refer to him. And so here it's saying, if we trust to their measure, their justice, although this is the word that's often used for temperance, that shall be, remember what we said last time about tenses, although bith is slightly different. When we find it spelt with an I, it often refers to the future. And that's carried over from Old English as well. That shall be our shared or common death. So death for all of us. If we believe them, that shall be for our great loss. If they grow well, they shall make us diminish. This is the word that we still have in English, wax, meaning to grow, and we use it particularly with reference to the moon. And this is its opposite, the word wane, but here it doesn't mean to actually diminish, it means to cause to wane, to cause to diminish. So they will cause us to wane as they wax well. Well ich hit mai sudgen, to soza ich hit wane, nis der nanswa heich, nis der nanswa laich, that where nabet his friend I fellet to grunde. For thon you've hit you beloveth, the weezer berth on thonker, far away from this alond, da lerdene us berth lath. Al her god where schulen niemen, and luttel hem laven, wonien her schulen unbalde, for hore mutchele bursten, and where mauen faren riche, yif where rad luvieth. For all that god of this alonde, where schulen lerden mit us, and her belaven reches, and waldehem shall fulien, for the riche haveth muchel room, to rassen beforen the rechan. I may say it well, I believe it to be true, there is not any so high, there is not any so low, that we have not felled his friend to the ground. For that, or therefore, if it is pleasing to you, so if you incline to it, this is the word that we saw before, you who are wise in thought, we shall go from this land, the people are hateful to us, all their good we shall take, and leave them little. They shall dwell unboldly, timidly, or miserably, here poorly, for or because of their great injury, and we may go richly. This could be powerfully. As I've said before, I'm always a bit reticent or hesitant to translate this word as rich in the modern English sense, because it comes from the Old English rite, which means a kingdom. But I think in this case, rich is an accurate way of rendering it. So, and we may go richly if we love or choose this counsel. For all the good of this land we shall lead with us, and leave them as wretches, and poverty shall fill them. Welder we've seen as an adjective, or we've seen the corresponding adjective. We saw it earlier on. The Weddlen was used when both Brutus actually and Pandrasus were amassing their forces. They called upon the Weddlen and the Richen, the rich and the poor. So poverty shall fill them. For the rich or the powerful have much, literally room, here something more like opportunity, to rush before, or to hasten before, the poor. So we'll leave them behind and we'll make a clean break and just get out of here, and they won't be able to chase us. Das Wort wären i kvæðene, their quidis wären leva, da he mich die her their behalves wäre, muchul dom, muchul dune, muchul fulkes drem, and alle her kleppeten dus, soth saith membrichios, and alle hit beloveden, god wären his lare. These words were spoken, the sayings were preferable, were dear. Then, and we've seen a similar line to this, we actually saw it describing the battle. It's saying what you might be able to see if you were happened to be standing by. So then he, who were by the side, so standing there watching, could hear great opinion. Doom often means judgment, but it can also mean opinion, and that seems to be the case here, I think. So much opinion, much din, so a great noise, and the great happiness of the people. And they all called thus, so they all shouted out, truth says Membricius, or Membricius says the truth. And they all loved it, so they all inclined towards this, gave credence to this plan, this counsel. Good were his teachings. And that brings us to the end of today's section. Thank you very much for watching. If you have any thoughts, suggestions, questions, corrections, or any sort of feedback, please don't hesitate to get in touch. You can comment below, or you can also find the Facebook page for the show, which is in the video description. All the best, and I'll see you next time.